Coffee. It is coffee o'clock.
Dude, what are you doing?
Coffee o'clock.
Well, yeah, but it's time to record.
Oh, fuck.
All right, welcome back to the Late Podcast. Today we have Matt, Jared, and our special guest Paul. All right, boys, let's dive into it.
All right, Paul. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself so the audience kind of knows who you are,
All right. Well,
or how we became friends and stuff.
I am Paul. Nice to be on the podcast, and we all used to go to the same high school, and yeah, that's all I can think of as of right now. But
Under my understanding, you and Hunter became friends because of music, really, in high school.
oh yeah, music definitely drawn us together a little bit more, especially that when you started playing guitar more, I was just like, I can see this going somewhere, and for the longest time, I've wanted to make bands with people. I'm currently making a band with him, and since 8th grade till pretty much junior year, nobody wanted to make a band because everyone was doing their own stuff. So
Right.
once me and Hunter were actually jamming and stuff like that, I was like, I'd like to do this again in the future. This is fun.
So now, Paul, why don't you tell us what got you into music, what artists and whatnot really influenced you to go, you know what, I want to make stuff like that too.
Okay, the only artist that got me into just playing guitar and just opening my music horizon was System of a Down. I remember my oldest sister was driving me to the Cuyahoga County Library, and it was the middle of winter. I remember she was playing Chicken Stew by System of a Down.
Yeah.
It was so crazy. Hearing it for the first time, I was just kind of what is this? This is so obscure. They're talking about pizza pies and stuff like that, and advertisement. I'm just like, this is kind of badass though. And then a year later, I got into Tool and stuff like that, and that pretty much got me to anything, any prog or 90s rock. And then 7th grade, it was halfway through the year, and I lost my train of thought. I'm trying to think. There was Nirvana. I got into Seether for a good minute, and then once my first year at Normandy was all just deathcore and stuff like that.
Acid Bath and Cannibal Corpse.
Yeah, anything Dax Riggs, and I had some Korn too. I was big into that, and then around 2016, me and my friend Jake were listening to this one album that released that year. It was Serenity of Suffering.
That's the one where they featured Corey Taylor in some songs.
Yeah,
that's good.
There's a song called Another World, one of the most heaviest Korn songs. Yeah, dude.
That's one of their best.
I love Korn. I'm about to go see them in Stained this September, I think.
Oh, nice.
September 2nd. Yeah.
Yeah, I think what makes Korn so unique is they have a distinct sound that Korn has. It's almost like how Van Halen has a distinct sound. But each album, they had something tweaked off differently. I'm trying to think what album it was where they had Ice Cube on a song, Children of the Corn.
Yeah, and then I think there was actually a picture that went with it, and it had the members from Orgy. They had Ice Cube. Limp Bizkit was in there too, and all these industrial and new metal bands, and they're all just standing there taking a picture.
Yeah.
If I had a reference photo, I'd just show you. It's the most iconic photo I've ever seen.
Okay, since we're talking about metal and stuff like that, does Primus suck?
Oh, Primus so sucks. Primus has to suck. If you're a Primus fan, you're gonna know Primus sucks. If you're not, Primus does suck.
Right. Was Jerry actually a race car driver?
I believe so. I believe Jerry went out of his way to actually be a race car driver.
I was jamming out to them last week at work.
Yeah, no, for real. I'm Like I get the joke about the Primus
Primus
sucks, but,
sucks and how the fans boo them.
yeah, but it's like I myself actually like a couple tracks by them, like
Yeah.
especially their drummer.
Oh
He's on a whole different level. Like it's very interesting the way they compose themselves.
How do you think Slipknot's gonna do now that the drummer's gone?
They'll find a replacement.
Yeah, I mean I think they did already, but when like Paul Gray died in I think it was 2010, after like
Yeah.
All Hope Is Gone was made, that's where like I saw the sound of it like change. Like
right.
very drastically, and they still had Joey Jordison, but I think they kicked him out, just like out of
Right.
nowhere. And then, yeah, I don't know. Their last album, there's like one or two songs that I like, but everything else is just it sounds mainstream, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
once you start like getting new members in the band, sound changes. A lot of fans fall off.
Things
But-
start to really change then.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think it's easier to deal with when you change a drummer or a bass player up versus if you change like a guitarist up, or especially like a lead vocals.
Mhm.
I mean, for instance, Alice in Chains, Lane
Oh,
Staley
yeah.
died, and,
For sure.
and they got a different vocalist. I mean, not to hate on the guy, but I mean it's not the same band.
Yeah, I mean Jerry Cantrell still holds up with like
Oh,
his,
yeah.
the way
Oh,
he
yeah.
plays. I still think he's one of the most underrated.
Oh,
And
yeah,
that
he
one
is.
song that was in John Wick Chapter 2, A Job to Do, that he did, the
Yeah.
very last track, it's almost like you can hear Lane even though he's not there, because of the way that
Well-
Jerry's harmonizing his voice over the two tracks. You'd almost like mentally think, it
Yeah,
all
like,
sounds
oh,
like
this is
Lane's
like-
there.
yeah.
Right. Well, I personally think what they should have done after Lane Staley died is they should have put Jerry Cantrell on vocals, because if you listen to his solo work, it sounds more like Alice in Chains than their new stuff.
Oh, yeah, speaking of Jerry Cantrell, he did actually release some new stuff not too long
Yeah.
ago.
His new album comes out October.
Oh, it did? Oh shit, man. Fuck.
Yeah, that his first single, Atone, came out like a week or two ago.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, I took a listen to that. I didn't listen to the whole thing, but for the most part, dude, Jerry's got a great voice. Like,
Yeah.
I also have to give him props for when Lane was alive, because he also wrote
Wrote
Down
the
in a
music.
Hole and stuff
Just
like that.
about every song, and
Yeah.
Lane wrote a couple, and it was funny. Lane was actually like, you need to start singing some of these songs. You're the one who wrote
Yeah.
these.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, I don't know, and he's like, no, you're gonna start singing.
I feel like as a good singer, especially like someone as like Lane Staley's voice, where it's like iconic and people are like, this is Lane Staley, and no one else's voice. Like, I feel like once you get really good at singing to the point where everyone like recognizes your voice, I don't know if Lane Staley did this, but there would be some artists that like really hate the content they make, even though they make bangers and like
Right. It's just
like moments in rock history where it's like, this wasn't here before and now it's here, This
Yeah.
has never happened. And so
Like how Nirvana hated "Smells Like Teen Spirit" after it
Oh,
came
yeah.
out and became mainstream.
right.
Kurt Cobain, he didn't even like the band. Like, he hated Nirvana. The only reason he actually wanted to stick around was once like Nevermind dropped and stuff like that. Apparently he wanted a like $3 million like deal where they were gonna give him like that much cash, and he was just gonna spend it all on heroin and die. Because he was just like, I mean, screw it, no one's gonna find me. And his Seattle home was very low key, like.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, when couple months before he died, Dave Grohl showed him the demo for Foo Fighters, and Kurt's in the bathtub and he's playing it to him, and then Dave's like, and then Kurt got out of the bathtub and it was really weird because then he started hugging me, but he's like, this is really good. I could see this actually going somewhere for you. Because I guess Kurt wanted to take Nirvana in a different like path
Right.
while he was still alive. He wanted to like do more like slow, mellow tracks compared to like stuff that they had done before. But then, he unfortunately died.
So
Dave did the first album of Foo Fighters by himself, and Chris kind of just disappeared for a little
Right.
bit.
since we're talking about 90s bands, before it slips my mind, the one that always crosses my mind that people never want to talk about is Screaming Trees. What do you think of them?
Good thing you said that. 'cause
Screaming Trees is great.
Like, you guys know the band Mad Season.
Yeah.
Mad Season.
I believe the guitarist in that was the guy from Screaming Trees.
Yeah.
That
No.
and there was another band that he did all the it was Queens of the Stone Age, as no one knows. The guitar
Yeah.
player is the dude from Screaming Trees.
Huh.
Yeah, I had to look into that because I was just like, man, like, who made that guitar sound?
Yeah,
That
I seen
was
a
pretty
while
cool.
back someone like made a chart of like all the Seattle bands and where like the members connected.
Yeah.
Another one since you brought up Queens of the Stone Age, Velvet Revolver, with
I've actually never listened to
Really?
Think of it like Scott Weiland went with Guns N' Roses, but they kicked out Axl Rose.
yeah, so Slash is in it. Scott what?
Wait,
Wiley's in it.
Slash?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
And
Duff.
and
is
who
in there.
who else is in there?
I don't know the drummer.
It's one of the guys from like one of those bands like Screaming Trees, Smashing
Yeah.
Pumpkins. It's one of those guys.
Would you guys consider Smashing Pumpkins to be like
Grunge.
a grunge?
Yeah.
Certain
on some of it.
songs would be categorized in there.
I feel they were like too experimental to just
Yeah.
be one genre.
Like-
each
Yeah.
album.
Like for instance,
switched
like the way I see it is like Screaming Trees. It's like borderline grunge. Like you got aspects of grunge, but at the same time, it sounds like Oasis. So,
Yeah, well, they probably
I
started off
guess.
one way and then try to shift
guess
another
it-
way.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of artists do that nowadays.
Yeah, like look at Machine Gun
I was
Kelly.
gonna say MGK.
He went from rap to now he's doing rock. And
Well, what happened there was
Oh, you guys hear
he
his
got
new,
hit by Eminem.
His new,
Right.
you guys hear his new single Paper Cuts?
I like it. It's all right.
It is very catchy. Like it is like it will contaminate your brain
Yeah.
really quickly. Like
I
you'll be sitting there listening it for it's like what 2 minutes long, 3 minutes long,
Yeah.
and by the time you're done, you're just like, that guitar part is still stuck in my head, or like
Uh-huh.
Travis Barker's like repetitive drum parts.
Travis Barker's phenomenal.
I hear that MGK is
Yeah, I'll
really
give him
good,
props for that.
He's really good to see in concert
Oh yeah, he probably has a really good stage
because
presence.
he just
Yeah.
has such a passion for the music that I feel like that a lot of people say that he's like one of the best people to see in concert because he goes so far out and like the one time he climbed a I don't know what it like the light statue.
I like the scaffold.
The scaffolding for the lighting, and he just like was singing at the top of the lights or something. I don't know. It was really weird.
Pulling an Eddie Vedder from fucking Pearl Jam.
Probably.
Yeah, or like Tyler Joseph from 21 Pilots.
Yeah.
Like he got in trouble after like a couple shows. He was climbing up to literally the top of this like the stage that.
I'm trying to think
Oh,
who
we saw.
Yeah.
How he climbs up really high and then he'll like play the drums and shit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think who else did it. Was it Rage Against the Machine that climbed the scaffolds, or
I know
I
their
think it was
drummer did.
Slipknot.
I know their
Yeah.
drummer
Wilson.
did before they went on, and then he got arrested, so they had to postpone the show. Imagine, like, you're about to go play, you climb something, next thing you know, you're arrested, all your thousands of fans are, like, all pissed off.
my
Yeah.
question is how the fuck did they get him out of there?
Right.
Like all safe, thousands of fans. Boo! Fuck you! Bring him back.
Yeah.
Because, like, he's sitting up there and the police are trying to get him. He's like, I'm not coming down.
Right.
I'm not coming down. And then later in the interview, he was like, yeah, I was on a couple tablets of acid and I was just really freaking out.
Yeah.
While we're
That's-
still on the topic of music, where do you see it taking you in your future?
Like music for me personally.
Yeah.
I would have to say that I see it more of as like.
I would say, well, to rephrase the question, more of like, what do you see as your future goals that in music? Like, what do you want to
yeah.
achieve in your music?
I really want to know how to compose like horror music, like make music that is very unnerving, yet in like almost in a very musical sense, where it's
Right.
like
One where it personally touches someone in a sense, like where like they feel like almost like the chills from
like.
it.
Have you ever watched the movie Insidious?
Yeah.
Yeah, the soundtrack to that is like ear piercing, but it's
Mm-hmm.
the way it's composed is so like just
I'll-
like free flowing.
I almost find it has to do a lot with like low frequencies,
Mm-hmm.
like the way they send low frequencies out, because that's like what you almost like feel.
Yeah, and with most horror
It's a nice
movies,
choice.
it's not the like scene that gets you; it's the sound. Because it's like, crap, what was that noise?
Yeah.
The,
I mean, most
something visual, like sure,
Yeah.
like a pop scare, but like it's the sound that really jolts you inside because you weren't expecting something loud to just bang.
Yeah, there's lots of movies that, especially directed by James Wan, he used the soundtrack as like part of the horror element. Like that's
Yeah.
what started that whole like jump scare bent like trend, you know. And I mean, like it was good at the time. Like what if you watch The Conjuring, that came out in like what 2013.
I think so. Yeah.
Just about.
Yeah, and that movie was scary, but it's like the movies that came after it that tried to copy the same gimmick.
Right.
It's so cheesy because you're just like, I know it's gonna happen,
Uh-huh.
you know, and then
It's like you hear the sound, you know something's gonna happen. It's
and you're
building up.
it's like it's not you're not scared. You're just like it's just like a jolt.
Yeah.
Like you're
Yeah.
startled, but you're not scared, and then you're just kind of like mad at the movie. You're like, oh, come on, you know, like
Yeah.
get to the like good part of the movie.
Yeah, it's like a quick pulse of adrenaline.
Yeah.
I hate those Netflix horror movies. The
Oh.
ones that are like PG-13, not even scary.
Oh, man.
They try to
Yeah.
hit all those elements, but it's just not there.
I watched this
The-
movie called Stitch on there.
Stitch.
It's like about a clown that like died.
I saw the trailer for it.
Yeah, I thought it was supposed to be a scary movie, but
What is
it's
this, rip off Pennywise?
pretty much. But it's like in England, and like this
Oh,
dude
Jesus.
was like one of those hired clowns, you know, and then he like
Even worse. It's like a rent-a-cop.
yeah. Yeah, pretty much
Matt's
like
house
that.
reminds me of The Conjuring.
Yeah, Matt's got
it
this
does.
tree in his
I've got a
backyard.
tree in the backyard with a swing on it.
Oh boy.
And it's got like the branch.
It's like a rope and just.
Yeah, and the window in my room like looks straight out to it.
Oh man.
It's the one closest to the ground, so it's like if anyone dies, it's probably gonna be me.
Yeah, because you got like the patio right there too.
I mean, do you have a dog?
Yeah, too.
well,
Right.
they're,
This is the Conjuring plotline, bro.
they're bitches. So.
I mean, technically they are if they're females.
They are. So technically, Jared wasn't out of line saying that.
Yeah. It's just stating facts.
I would love to ask you the next question, but you've already answered that question for us. So,
What was that?
your favorite bands and musicians.
Oh, I would have to say, I don't know. When it comes to like heavy music, I would have to say my favorite bands would be somewhere along it, like anything Swedish death metal or Swedish like progressive death metal towards like jazz. Like there's a weird like sound that comes.
Fusion and combination.
Yeah, like bands like Meshuggah and like Volto and
Oh.
stuff like that. Like
Yeah, shit is good.
yeah, they're about to be touring up here in March 2nd at the
Oh, shit.
Agora. It's about to be lit. But when it's metal, I'd have to say Meshuggah. When it comes to rock, it'd be Pink Floyd or Porcupine Tree, because they're both like, I think they're both British bands,
Right. Yeah.
and yeah, they've created some very very interesting stuff. Like it's like you once you turn on either of those,
Right.
you'll be like, I know what band this is, you know?
Right. It's like if we're talking about rock bands, Blood, Sweat and Tears. Their album from I want to say 1968, and the one song they have is called Spinning Wheel. But you know how Chicago used like a whole like jazz like set of like horns in it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they used this like a couple years prior, and it's just a super clean, composed sound. Almost that just paved the way for Chicago when they came out with their albums. And
Like the band Chicago.
yeah,
Oh, okay. I thought you meant like the city of Chicago.
No,
Okay.
no, the band Chicago, but pretty much like I was listening to it and just thinking more in depth about it, and I'm like, you know, they're pretty much the ones that put it out there and paved the way for almost like with like grunge bands like Mother Love Bone paved the way for Pearl Jam and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Or like I would have to say Green River.
I was gonna say
probably
Green River.
the pioneers of grunge or Seattle
yeah.
grunge, because
Yeah.
they're I believe the first ones to date to kind of create that sound, and then that followed like with
Hey,
Temple
Green
of
River's
the Dog and
underrated.
stuff like that. But
Yeah.
that was like a super group.
Yeah.
One I can never get over how the lead singer of Creed,
Oh, Scott Stapp.
Yeah, he sounds like Eddie Vedder when they sing sometimes. You ever get
Yeah.
that? Or like sometimes some songs by Stone Temple Pilots, it's almost like the three have the same voice at times.
Sometimes when I hear Scott Stapp, I think of like, I think of going to church, but also when I hear like Mark Tremonti's guitar playing, I just keep thinking of it's Alter Bridge.
Yeah.
But it's not, because it's like, once you hear Miles Kennedy and Alter Bridge, then you're like, oh wait, then that's not Creed, you know?
Right.
Creed was definitely, like, their album, My Own Prison. It was definitely weird because it came out the same time as, like, Days of the New. They considered Days of the New, like, the very end of grunge.
They would be like post-grunge.
Yeah, pushing post-grunge. A lot of grunge fans say, oh, well, it's still grunge if you look at the elements and the lyrics. And it's like...
That'd be saying like Puddle of Mud is grunge.
Right. But
Just because they covered that one Nirvana song.
Right, but it's like weird because like the Creed's My Own Prison album was like right there, like in the transfer over from grunge to like post grunge alternative.
Dude, when Seether came around, I was like, this is one of like the best bands like to hear out of that post grunge era. But then there was like Nickelback, which I liked their guitar riffs, don't get me wrong.
Their early stuff was good, like 96.
Yeah, they apparently made a song with Dimebag, like an unreleased track.
Really?
It sounds so heavy. Like his singing is good too. Like I'm like, where was Chad Kroeger when like this
They
like
needed him.
did their record label was just like, let's not sell it, you know, like
Right.
that was Dimebag and Chad Kroeger. Like at that point, that's kind of metal. I'd have to give it to him.
Right.
Like,
What do you think of their cover of Devil Went Down to Georgia?
any cover of The Devil Went Down to Georgia is bad.
Honestly.
The original, just keep it to the original.
Right.
Right.
It's like if someone covered Stairway to Heaven. I mean, like Mastodon's cover of it was good, but like when you hear it, you usually would hear Robert Plant singing, no one else. So it's
Right.
just, it's kind of those songs you shouldn't.
I was
just
gonna say
cover.
covering The Devil Went Down to Georgia would be like
Trying to cover
if
Sail Over
Metallica
Heaven.
tried covering dueling banjos.
Yeah. Or like Mozart's like Moonlight Sonata. Or was that
Right.
Beethoven?
The Fifth of Beethoven.
Yeah.
Fifth of Beethoven by Acid Path.
Yeah. Covered by Dex Riggs.
Right.
Alright, what other questions you guys got me? I'm nervous, guys. I gotta admit to you guys, I'm really nervous.
You're probably not used to this. I mean, we're still kind of getting used to it for ourselves.
Oh, alright.
It's a whole new experience of talking and then putting it on.
Next time you'll be
platform
on,
and
you won't even be nervous.
Yeah, I try to like concentrate on the fact that we are having a conversation, but it's like
Right.
this mic is always just tripping me out. I don't know why. I'm just like, oh man, my voice is now being recorded.
Yeah. Right. It's like
It's kinda like-
it feels weird to try and have a normal conversation because you're like, I still kind of have to watch my words.
Oh man,
Right.
that chicken noodle soup can is recording.
We're gonna have like a little tally chart of just all the swear words we've said. Cross it off.
It's like
That's
the one
one down.
biscuit song where it's like, where is it? And it's like 2 more fucks and that's 46 fucks in this fucked up rhyme.
Well, I hate
Well, there goes the one.
I hate to change up the topic because we've done, like, I think our conversation, your guys' conversation, I haven't really put much into it, about music has been great. But Hunter knows that you like aliens. And you,
I do like them.
do
I
you
like
believe
the
they are
idea.
real or fake?
I mean, it's kind of
It's hard.
it's kind of too crazy to believe just like there's nothing else
Right.
out there, but at the same time we kind of haven't been, you know, all the way on like every ends of the
Right.
earth, you know, to just be like, yeah, this ends here, you know, and doesn't go on forever. Like
Right.
like nobody knows how big space is, so it's like
Right.
there could be nothing there,
Right.
but
But
at
it's
the same
stupid to say
There's
automatically that there's nothing there. We're the only
Yeah,
thing
it's like
living.
kind of ignorant. Like, well, I don't
Right.
see anything, so
It's
it's
stupid.
not there.
Right. It's
Right.
stupid to say that there's nothing else out there.
Yeah, like it's like when like someone says like nobody cares. You know,
Mhm.
it's like to a person, it's like, well, out of the 7 billion people in the world, I guarantee you, there's at least
someone cares.
there's at least one in each continent that's like, I care about this dude. You know, so
Right.
even if they've never met, like there's just that.
With
Like,
all the
it's-
things that
it's
have like
impossible.
happened like in prehistoric times and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
I actually really don't know what time it happened. But like when Egypt,
like the
like,
pyramids,
the pyramids, and
A
how
couple thousand years
there was
ago.
just.
and the monuments in like South America.
I think you sent me the video of it on TikTok that there was like the black rock that used to be like the tip of one of the pyramids, and
Yeah.
like it's not able to be carved into any way
Mm-hmm.
with anything that we have like lasers or any type of diamond cutter or anything.
Yeah, and they just used their bare hands. Like then even
So
our
they
own,
say, but there's like there's inscriptions in it, and there's no way for us to currently cut into it. So was there something here before
it
us
just was able to slice
that was
through
able
these
to
things.
slice through it?
Mm-hmm.
Because
Very
it's a rock that
precise.
hasn't ever been found on Earth either.
Really.
So like it's clearly been found on top of a pyramid.
Mhm.
Like it's never been found like in
Wow.
the
Or you gotta
Earth
love how
itself.
Yeah.
all these early civilizations all have those hieroglyphics of like their type of god, and if you look at them, they all kind of look similar.
Right.
And in most of the hieroglyphics, you have like all these things of like people in these weird suits, these people that have wings and they're flying. Like you had
Yeah.
some of those like I don't know what they were called then. The people who had like those weird heads of like dogs and
Yeah.
cats.
Oh,
and
like
whatnot.
I think it's ISIS, I believe was the name of it.
What?
It's, no. There's like that was like the name of the creature that had like the dog head.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, like I know they
Not the terrorist organization.
like I know they had them, but like they had all these other like people with all these different things and
Yeah.
ships in the sky. It's like you don't just think like that when you don't know
Yeah,
anything
I don't
other than
think they
like,
had, like-
this is sand.
Yeah, I don't think they had like I mean they like living on a desert, like especially those big pyramids. How
did they get there? And then
Right.
like,
It's because if whichever way you go from those pyramids, there's like miles and miles of just desert.
Nothing.
Right.
So it's like
There-
how
there's
did
some
they how did this
unexplainables.
get composed?
But what's
you know?
really, really interesting about the pyramids in itself is that they are like centrally located. If I'm not saying the world's flat because he really believes that, but if the world was laid out on a flat map, the center of the map is the pyramids in
Yeah.
Egypt. Like
Right.
that is the dead center. So isn't that kind of weird that is the dead center of a map on like anything of that the pyramids are right there in the
Right.
dead center,
Or
and then that they have so many weird activity. Well, I wouldn't say activity that happens there, but activity that had happened in the past.
just
Right.
strange
There.
resemblances.
Is that? Do you think that's tied to the Egyptian culture and that there were people there that built all that and were like, we know this is the center, or do you believe there was outer, like people watching us that went and did that?
I'd say probably like
That's
outer-
just crazy.
like aliens, extraterrestrials. They probably came and did all that because if you look, there's like pyramids in the Pacific Ocean,
Right.
but you don't really see them because they're like thousands, millions feet deep.
Millions, you mean thousands?
Yeah, whatever. It's been a long day.
I mean, who knows how deep the ocean
Well,
can go,
okay,
you know?
feet, yes. Miles, different.
yeah, but like there's like pyramids in there. It's like, well, how did that end up all the way down there? Was there people down there too?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it was during like when Pangea
Yeah,
we split and
like how Atlantis just went into the ocean.
right. But I believe like Atlantis was still a thing before Pangea. I mean, Atlantis was still a thing after Pangea, I
Yeah.
believe, and it was just taken over. Like I want to say during ice ages and shit, but I'm not sure.
I feel like they've found the entrance to so-called Atlantis, but
Yeah, well,
I've
isn't
seen
it like
vi-
in Iraq?
Yeah,
they
I've seen
found
videos
one,
about
and
it.
like there's another one, and like the
There's
I
just
want
like
to say
a bunch
the
of tunnel
Swiss
system,
Alps,
I
but
think.
like
there's one by Spain, like
Yeah,
off the
but-
coast of Spain. There was like a couple miles down.
yeah, but they're
the ground, there was
unable to
an
get
opening.
in. Like there's some sort of like
There's like a barrier that when you get
unnatural
there,
energy occurrence.
right, that's
that
what they
goes
keep
on.
saying. Like when there's tunnels leading to it that are underneath all these countries, that when you get to that certain barrier, like your body can't take it, and you start like seeing things or something, and then like
Right.
you go insane in your mind, and then I don't want to say you just eternally bust, but you don't come
Right.
back.
Right.
Like, there's people that have gone down there and then they just don't come back, but there's tales of it and stuff, and you're like, how do you know if it's true or not? So
It's almost like that one movie that they made on the catacombs, where like there was like people in like miles down that were like crazy. I think it's what goes down must come up, or
As above, so
Yeah.
below.
that's what I'm thinking
That's the
of.
Paris catacombs.
Yeah. But another
it's a crazy
thing,
movie, man.
yeah, another thing talking about like, I guess, in prior generations, if that's a right word to say. I mean, it's just mind blowing how they made the catacombs. Or one thing that's mind blowing is if you look at the map, like a map from the 1400s, and look at the lines going around like continents and stuff, how detailed they are with rivers. It's like, you're telling me they were able to do this just by walking along the perimeter?
Yeah, and like especially
it's
like
impossible. It's
our
impossible.
perception of how we see stuff from like, let's say, a far distance. You're not like gonna scale something out and be like,
Right.
let's put a bridge here because on the other end it's completely
Right.
stable to build a
Like-
bridge.
right,
and
right.
Like for instance, if that was the case, if they did it walking, just marking it down, throw yourself in a random neighborhood in another city you've never been to, and try mapping down that whole neighborhood and see
Well, I
how
think-
accurate you are. Now that's just one neighborhood.
I
Now,
think
we're
it's more
talking-
difficult than that. Like, that's more difficult nowadays because there's so many like
little
streets
inner
and
things.
There's so many
imagine
streets
like
and
ending
houses
up on a
now.
bad neighborhood.
Well,
where,
right.
like you'll just be like, all right, let me map this out, and you're like, oh,
Right.
about to
Well-
get robbed.
Oh, what I'm saying is, for these people that said, oh, they just made these maps by just walking
I
the
would-
premises, it's kind of hard to believe that there wasn't anything else that helped them.
right.
Because some of the details, it's like you could only find out from aerial view.
Exactly. I was gonna ask the question of do you believe that that this is just other beings at the place, or on how many crazy things that we don't actually know about Earth and how it actually works, because a lot of the things are just kind of like estimates of
Right.
how
Right.
it works. Like, we don't know how the moon. Like, we know the moon affects the tides and stuff. And maybe that had something to do with Atlantis being put under or whatever, but we don't really know how the moon affects the tide. I believe, like,
Yeah.
like there's so many. People say like, oh well, because of the moon surface, like there's a dip that's gonna be coming in like 5 or 10 years. There's like a dip in the moon that's gonna affect the tide, and then people are gonna start saying it's global warming. But let's not get into that.
Yeah.
But there's different things that just happen at specific times, and we just don't know about it. So
Yeah.
it's like, how do we know exactly if someone else is doing this or not?
Well, we don't really know. I think possibly the government has more knowledge on it.
I believe they do. That's why they're hiring.
As far as a
so much
higher
area.
power, aliens, and I'm not even going to use the word aliens. I'm just going to talk about other living species out there. Because, well, I personally think we only know such a small fraction on what's going on this Earth. And, for instance, there could be aliens, or what we'd call aliens,
that are currently watching.
that
us.
are currently walking. There could be some in the backyard, but our eyes might not have
We
the
might not be able to
capability
pick it up.
of seeing them, because we just might not be designed to see that. For instance, we see stuff, I guess, in the sense like we see like we see what's in front of us.
Are you saying like how
But-
some animals can't see color but we can?
Right,
Like
but
how some of
aspect-
us see different colors.
okay,
differently.
but think
Yeah.
about this. What if you
There's a
see,
deer.
what if you seen what if
There
you
was
seen in
something
heat
back
waves?
there.
What if you seen in heat waves as far as temperature?
It just
Then
took a
you'd
shit.
be able to tell that something's there.
Well, yeah, because you'd be like, let's say if someone
got
was on the
spots
other
on it.
side of the wall and was warm-blooded, and you
Right.
could see through the wall, because the wall will always be colder
Right.
than someone's.
Or
you know,
telekinesis or
yeah.
other stuff like that.
Or like, have you guys ever seen the movie Bird Box?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
exactly.
the creature in that movie, they don't show it, but I believe like the same idea where it's like
Right.
it was designed for us where we can't see it, and if we do see it, we just kind of
Go crazy.
yeah.
Right, and that's why they're always wearing should
The
have
blindfolds.
Right.
To step back onto the aliens and what we.
Oh yeah,
think,
we were drifting off.
No, but there's other things out there like people say that. Who were the first people to go to the moon?
Like Neil Armstrong.
Yeah, like they say that they
So-called.
yeah,
Soviet Union.
so-called that they've
Right.
they
A dog from Russia.
Yeah. The Sputnik. Sorry.
You're good. So-called that they had been told by the government that they weren't able to talk in front of the press about certain things because some people keep saying that the moon landing is like fake and that like it was staged.
Right.
But why would they be told not to say specific things? But if people think it's because it was fake and it was just filmed and blah blah blah. Well, other people believe that because they were close friends with them, and then they weren't close friends anymore because they told secrets that they told them, of which that when Neil Armstrong stepped off, he said the words of like one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. But when he got off, it was a minute until he said that. Like he had a small like break in his before he started talking, and he kind of just looked around. A lot of people say that the reason of that was because when he looked around, they saw aliens just hovering, watching them, like, get off the ship.
Right.
And, like, supposedly.
Yeah.
Who knows if that's really true.
I feel like that quote itself, he's probably referring to that. Like, the big leap to mankind is finding that other extraterrestrial.
That's what I think has to do with that also.
Yeah, but people probably were thinking it on like the simplest level where they're like, oh, well, we landed on the moon. No one has ever done this before. But they're probably being like something completely different.
Yeah, I think a couple things about the moon landing. I think either the government's lying about something, they're definitely hiding something, or we never made it to the moon because they say NASA lost the technology of 50 years ago, or 1969 was when we landed on the moon. That was
almost
53 years ago.
52.
It's almost 60.
Almost 53 years ago. You're telling me you lost technology that's almost 60 years old?
Yeah.
Okay, it's 2021.
My dad's
It's
gonna
about to
turn
be
52.
2022, and they landed.
Okay, well, besides the point, let's not worry about how many years it was. Continue.
Right. It's been over half a century, and you're telling me that you can't recreate the technology, one, if you lost it, two, why would you destroy all the evidence you had? That's complete BS.
Or was it just given to...
They probably gave it to like a country or
is
something.
Is it in Area 51 and we just don't know about it?
Right.
Are they doing things outside of Area 51 and we just don't know
I think either two things. Either there's a lot that was there that was like, okay, we can't talk about this. We're just going to tell the people it got lost in like some sort of fiery wreckage, which is absolute complete BS because you would make multiple copies and you would do stuff to save that data. I mean,
you're NASA.
Right.
You're NASA. You're telling me you had the capability to fly to the moon, but you weren't smart enough to make backups?
Right.
Yeah, like if you're a research, facility.
And you're telling me that someone years later would rewrite over tape? Mind you, we're talking about a mechanical tape drive from the 60s. You would use that in the 80s when they had enclosed hard drives and floppy disks and that. There's no way
hard to believe.
There's no way that'd be like the Eagles saying, "Oh yeah, someone took our original 8-track and wrote over it."
My question has always been
up.
about like NASA and stuff is what truly happened to Apollo 13?
Right.
What was it actually like a malfunction and that just something wasn't checked correctly before they went up? Or did something else happen, like with extraterrestrial beings, that affected the ship?
If they have a rocket ship, that thing has to be perfectly up to snuff. Right. Nothing can go wrong. Mm-hmm. And you're telling me something after they went out, all went wrong.
Well,
right.
Yeah, we're engineers.
And then when you're telling them halfway through their trip that something's wrong, yeah, okay.
Right.
I believe it was something else that was up there.
Well, here's the thing. It doesn't matter you as a person won't find out more than likely until later on in life, or your kids maybe would find out, or their grandkids. It's going to be a long time before information is revealed about the government. What happened to JFK? Was he actually assassinated by one person? Was it a one-man job? Or was it planned by the government?
Was it the mafia? Because,
Right.
I mean, he had mob ties, you know?
Yeah. I mean, there's a conspiracy behind it. The reason why JFK was assassinated was supposedly Lyndon B. Johnson's family, one of his family members, like in-laws, worked for Bell Helicopters, and they had a pre-wrote deal to go into the Vietnam War.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's a big money deal. Your company's contracted to get all the flying equipment to go into a war. Well, you've got a president that wants to pull out of it. Whoa. Guess what? Your family's taking a big pay cut. And you as a vice president, well, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
That sounds
so
pretty sus.
it's like there's that idea behind it. I mean, the government's going to tell us it's just an angry person about it. I mean, another thing, they're not going to come out and say aliens are real, and I'll tell you why.
Well,
I mean,
hold
technically
on.
they did.
I was gonna say they did just
They-
release some
Yeah, like,
files.
what was it? 2 years ago? A year ago now?
It was
About the
almost,
UFO.
almost a year
Yeah.
ago.
About the
But
UFO.
they had pictures of extraterrestrial beings in that file
Yeah,
also.
remember
that
that
had
one
been
video
released.
on YouTube that they
Those
had on there
CIA
for years, and they were like dissecting
They were
an
from Area
alien,
51, I
and
believe.
everyone thought
Yeah,
it was fake.
But it
Yeah,
might
I've
be
seen
came
a
out and
video
said
like
it's
that
real.
that's from like 03, 04, and then is on YouTube for like a couple weeks and then taken down. Couldn't find it anywhere. But here's the thing. I don't think most people in the world are ready to accept that there's other beings
I
living
think a
around
lot of
them
people
that they can't
are
see.
accepting it.
Well,
When you have 1 million plus people that want to storm Area 51, I think a
yeah,
lot
but
of
there's
people
7
would accept
billion
it.
people in the world. If you do
I'm just
a
saying, but
ratio
that's 1
to-
million plus people from America on its own.
Okay, well that's still a third of a
But
percent.
but what are the other people that are like, yeah, I believe in it, but I don't want to storm it. Like
like a
I
silent-
believe in it, but
like
I
a
don't want to
silent
storm it.
majority.
Right.
You know?
yeah, that's what I was gonna try to watch from my phone, but they were like, you know what? Let's turn it into a rave.
Well,
Right.
Yeah, it literally was just like a gathering.
Well,
That's it.
what I think is you're not going to see one of your politicians, like the Speaker of the House or the President, coming on TV giving a press conference and go, hey, guess what?
Well, no.
Everything was a ploy to your eyes.
But
There's
why would they-
aliens walking on the earth living with you. Okay, for instance, people went crazy over COVID, and it was a virus that people died of, and you were able to get. Now think about if they said there's aliens that you can't even see. Oh my God, people would go crazy.
Yeah.
I don't think people are mentally capable enough on the average to come to an acceptance that
Well,
there's other things alive. Because it's pretty much programmed in humans to be superior. They want to be the alpha.
They want control.
They want to be the alpha species. They
Yeah.
want control. They don't
Yeah.
want to know that there's something that has more power than them.
But
It-
I also feel like that the fear of like not knowing something.
Yeah, the fear of the unknown.
Yeah, because like let's say if you're in like murky water and you're swimming and you're like you're by the shore, you could still feel the bottom,
Right.
and then suddenly it drops and you're just like,
Oh shit.
how far is
Right.
this drop? Like, I feel
Right.
like it's like that for people. If like there were aliens that were invisible to our eyes, we would literally be in like constant paranoia. Where
Yeah,
like
it'd be
it
like
could
Tweet
literally
from
be
South
sitting
Park.
next
Right.
to us right now.
Right,
I-
right.
I
but
mean,
it's
hey-
kind of like when you take a picture in the dark, and you sometimes get like those white little glimpses, and you're like, oh, is that a ghost?
Is that,
Right.
is that
Or-
an
well,
orb?
it's
or
kinda
if you're
like the
using
same
a filter
thing, you
and
know?
it picks it up on there too.
Mhm.
Like you got a picture of yourself, and then there's like a filter over here too.
Yeah, but
Right.
it got a facial capture from somewhere. You're
Yeah.
like, where did
It's
Right,
What
like-
the fuck?
So is it like is the
It's like
camera
8 feet
are
tall.
some
You're
of the
like, damn,
cameras
Shaq, you in here?
are the cameras good enough to like pick that up? Like is
Right,
the
like
thing,
is
and
our
we just
technology
can't see it?
advancing?
Right.
You know, and is that why sometimes there's like pictures of like their ships and that have been released like within the past year? I don't remember when it was, but when they released those files, there was pictures of like a ship, and then like I think it was 1 or 2 aliens that were also in that file. Was that just like a picture on its own, or was that a picture that was like taken and then they caught it and they just
Like that was
filtered it
the,
out
that was
enough
the
so that way they
exposure.
can see them. You can't really see their face or anything in depth, probably because we just can't see them with our own eyes. And maybe the filters did it for us to see them.
Like there was
Right.
this one iconic photo.
correction.
If you guys know of the Amityville Horror,
Yeah.
yeah, there was that one iconic picture of the boy on the stairs where you could see him, and there was no boy that lived there at the time, and there
Yeah.
was
Right.
there was a kid that did die under that house, and there was like paranormal activity, and that photo in itself was, they didn't see it. Like when they took the picture, there was no boy, and then the exposure from the picture was a kid just sitting there staring at him from the
You know
stairs.
what's funny? I heard a similar story like that. I'm not going to say the name of the person for reasons, but...
He was Joe Smo, alright?
What?
Just call him Joe, alright?
But I'm not going to say, like, the name of the person for reasons, but
Just say Joe. His name is...
Okay, we'll use Joe. We'll use Joe as a name. So Joe had a family member that passed away. And after the funeral, they had a gathering at his house. Well, they got a picture around it. Well, there is an outline of a face, and he showed me the picture, and it was after this one specific grandmother. His grandmother passed away.
Joe's grandma.
And you seen the outline like of the eyes and the nose standing like right next to him. Wow. And it was just very eerie just like seeing, because it's like, wow.
Yeah, that's kind of creepy.
Or you gotta love those pictures where like someone's at like an abandoned area and they take a picture, and it's not until someone in like the comments is like,
you're like, hey, you seen that?
who's that in the window or like in the doorway? It's like, what? And you go back and look and you zoom in, it's like, oh.
Yeah. But
Right.
there are those YouTubers though that like
put
fake
stuff
a
that,
lot of
yeah, and then they'll be like,
tamper
oh
with
my
it.
gosh, we found like a woman stitched up into a bed. It's like, well, why would you just record that?
Right,
You know?
right,
Like,
for,
what did you-
for content.
yeah,
Right.
for content.
And I
there's
feel
people
like
that'll be like, oh, there's ghosts over there, and then they'll just be like,
Like
you'll,
that,
you'll know they're like
Right, like-
guessing, you know.
like that
like the
Ghost
shows
Hunter
on like
show.
True TV.
Right.
And it's
Yeah.
like, oh my god, you heard that? And it's like, they're like, oh my god,
Yeah, like
there's
that.
a
They're
ghost.
literally in a dilapidated building that literally is just crumbling, and they're just like, "Do you hear that one crack or the fall sound?" Like there could be like just the ceiling caving in,
Right.
you know, and they're like,
Right.
Or they're
"It's
like,
ghosts."
do you guys, is there any like spirits in here? It's like a house from like the 1800s. It's cracking and whatnot. Makes a sound. You got chills? I just pissed myself. Let's go out.
Yeah.
Right.
They don't even show it, and then they're like, "Oh yeah, we saw it, even though like we didn't catch it on camera, but we saw
Right,
it. You know, it's so
he,
scary."
Man, he got attacked, and it's like his arms like just lightly red in the area, and
It's like a hickey on it. He got attacked.
And it's like, are you sure you weren't playing with a vacuum cleaner?
Right.
Yeah.
Just
Right. It's a weird topic.
Yeah, we could go on for hours about that.
I know. We can. There's a
Yeah.
lot of conspiracy theories out there about it, and there's a lot of groups out there
Right.
that come out about it. There's people that are, like specialize in it, like their PhD and shit,
right.
just to like get information about this. Then they like somehow come out with a bunch of information, like, oh yeah, we have pictures and stuff. Okay, but is it really real? Like, I get like having pictures and stuff, I can believe pictures, but when you just are telling a story,
Yeah, there's also
That's
like
hard.
we live in like an age where you can literally manipulate a
Anything.
picture and
That's
make
why
it look believable.
that's why that's why talking about things that have happened in the past, like when
Yeah,
we
it's-
believe there
yeah.
wasn't the technology to do it,
it was easier.
it's
to
so much
be, like,
easier
more
to believe
convinced.
it.
Yeah,
Right.
It's convincing.
It's almost like one of those things you have to be there to
See it.
The other
like
thing that
believe it. Like were you there at a
what?
at,
Well, I want to touch on something
I
really
feel
quick
that,
before we
man. I feel
continue that
It's like,
thought.
what are you?
So, he was talking about so Matt talked about the time earlier when he said we can't see them is what you were saying is, what if they are here and we just can't see them? What if they are here and they just have a cloaking method kind of, and we are not meant to see them? They're
Right.
not allowing themselves to see us yet. because if they have hieroglyphics of like all this stuff in the past, maybe they open themselves up to us in the past. Then maybe we harmed them, and they won't show themselves to us again until we build their trust or something.
Right.
You know,
I
because
feel
if
like-
they were able to do so many things in the past that make no sense to even do nowadays, it's hard to say that like what happened because we just don't have that information. So.
And my dad always had this conspiracy theory that like Earth, it's kind of just like
A simulation, yeah.
no, kind of like a prison.
Oh shit.
Kind of like just a prison, and that's why the aliens are constantly coming to check up on us, see what we're
Right,
doing.
they're like
see
the
if-
guards.
Yeah.
We're just an experiment to them.
We're just serving
Yeah,
the
and
Gitmo.
then the government is closer with and works with them.
Yeah.
Or are they the
And then you get
CEOs?
people like Elon Musk, and they're kind of just like, he's getting too good, a little too good. So
Well,
then
some
they start
people
coming
believe
down.
that Elon Musk is an alien.
Right.
Some people believe the man is the devil himself.
Some
I'm just like,
he's a
dude,
robot.
he made Tesla. He couldn't be the devil.
right. But to step back onto that topic that you were just talking about, I was there that time when
the fridge door opened
yes,
and no one touched it.
Whoever is
Was this at-
listening, they
was this at
know
your
what we're
house?
talking about if they are listening.
It was
So,
at our friend's house.
We were at our friend's house and we were just like messing around and like not doing anything.
I'm
and
sure
then
the
we, like,
crackhead
finally
wouldn't care if
decided-
we said is Eric, our friend Eric.
Okay, yes. he'll probably be
Shout
on
out
the
to Eric.
podcast at some time soon.
Yeah.
But when we were over his house one night, it was like Matt, me, Eric, and one of our other friends.
James, I think.
Yes.
That's exactly
Just didn't
what
want
it
to name
was.
drop here, right? So I don't know if they would feel comfortable with it, but we were there and we're all like messing around, and then like we'll settle down. We were going
We
to
could
bed,
bed it up.
and then all of a sudden we're like just like chilling on our phones and shit. Lights are off and everything. No one came downstairs, and all of a sudden the fridge that's behind us just opens.
Yeah, and slammed shut.
And then like it opens, you see the light because the lights are off,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden you hear boom,
Yeah,
and you're
just-
like, what just happened?
Yeah.
Like just out of nowhere.
Out of nowhere. And like we looked at each other because we were all sitting on the couch together, and it's like, how are we all next to each other? And that just happened.
Right.
And we look behind
And
us,
the
there's
ol-
no one there.
And the only way you were able to get to the fridge, they would have had to walk past us, and no one could have came downstairs to the fridge.
Right.
Damn.
And in addition, it was like around September, October, the weather where you don't have the AC running, you don't have the heat running, they didn't have windows open in their basement, and there's papers rustling on the fridge,
Right.
on and off. Which, I don't know about you, but did I remember telling you where there's an opening in the ceiling, and I seen something like in that, like I'm going to bed and I seen
I
something
remember
move
you
across
telling
it,
me about that.
and
but
then I was like, what the fuck? Because it looked almost like a cat in a sense, but with an owl's face.
right.
And
That's kind of.
But then we called his sister too.
Scary.
because we heard a dog barking.
Yeah, we called her sister too because the dog was barking upstairs, and she was like, "No, I'm in my room."
And the dog's asleep on my bed.
Right.
But there's the sound of a dog
But
while
there's
your
only
dog's
they only
asleep,
have one dog.
and it's asleep.
Right.
And then it's
That's
coming
kind-
in the house.
That is scary.
Yeah, it's
But-
kind of messed up when you think about it.
But
Yeah.
that's got me a good drawing idea now. I'm thinking like a black cat on a fridge, but its face is an owl, you know, and it's
It's
barking.
got like these vicious, like, I wouldn't say so much like vicious teeth, like it wasn't razors, but it had like,
They're like tacky.
yeah, kinda, and like the face on it was more like scruffled, not like crazy where like if you touched this thing you're gonna slice your hand off, but like just scruffled.
It didn't look smooth. It was very like patchy.
No, what looked like the thing definitely needed a wash, if that made sense.
The worst is when like I'm cleaning up for the night and I'm about to turn the lights off and go to my room, and I'm like sitting, I'm on my phone for a minute, nothing's playing, and then I'll hear like very faintly somebody talking, and then I do a perimeter check in the house, no one's here, and then I hear a couple more like people talking, and all the windows are closed, everything's locked up. You don't hear anything, but once you're like quiet for a few minutes, you hear like these little like tidbits and
Do you check your
cameras all the time.
no? Do you check your
Upstairs? Oh yeah.
Well, I'm not sure if you want to tell Paul about the prior
Incident.
incident, like where you had to
So,
Wait,
holy
so
water.
do you have
Yeah, like holy
paranormals
waters.
and like paranormal activity in the house?
I felt because here's the thing.
noises.
I can feel that like energy. Like if I go in a place where like people like they'll tell me in the future like, oh yeah, by the way, that place was haunted. Like I feel the negative energy when I come in there, and for some reason when this was going on, like for the longest time I felt fine in this house, and just the one time I came in and I'm just like, something just feels off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this one time, Matt and I, we were watching Green Inferno in the living room.
Dude, that
And-
movie's so wild.
And I had the blinds like kind of shut, kind of open to where like if you're outside you can't really see in unless you're at an angle, but if you're inside you can kind of see out.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this car like comes and stops on the street right outside the house, and I check the time, and then 20 minutes later the car is still sitting there. So
The same car.
yeah, no movement at all. So me being the proper gun safety homeowner that I am,
Yeah.
I got my gun and I went outside, but before we got outside, the car took off. So I did a quick perimeter check. There's no one there. And the reason why I wanted to do a perimeter check, before we've had people, that's why we have security cameras now. We've had people come up to our windows and like try to peer in because there was footsteps in the snow up to everyone's window.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to get security cameras. So now I get paranoid when
Yeah,
I hear a
I
sound,
would be too. I'd be
and
like, shit.
I go around with Fortunate Son playing with
No,
either one or both guns in hand, and I'm walking around, and it's like, you know
You're the
what?
fortunate one.
Right. I'm like, who's ready? Who wants some?
I think Matt was. I mean, that's a good story. I mean,
Right.
we've
That-
got a lot of
that
good
one
stories,
was
but I think
definitely
Matt was talking about a
I
different
talked
situation.
more of a, I guess, more unexplainable, the one that you told
Oh,
me.
yeah. So this one time, my sister, she's home alone. My nephew was at school. I was at school. She's laying in bed, and she hears, like, all these weird voices and sounds coming from, like, areas of the house that, like, if I was home, it would be reasonable. It'd probably be from me, or if my nephew was home, it'd be from him. But she's home alone. And she goes around, looks, there's nothing there. And then she said she goes back into her room, and she feels like she's being watched. Well, all her windows were like closed and shut up. Her closet, she looked in there and there's nothing there. Well, when I came home, I felt like an unnerving feeling,
Hey.
almost like something was here. So she wanted me to go to the church and get some holy water, so I did. The weirdest thing is, you'd think going around and like splashing holy water and saying a prayer wouldn't make you feel uneasy.
Yeah,
When I-
especially if you're like, oh man, this could be potentially.
When I got to the basement in the one corner, dude, I had like chills going down my spine.
Like,
I
alright, here
had
we
the
go.
feeling to where like I could barely move. And I was like, holy water, holy water, holy water, holy water.
Well,
just
I
splashing it
What
all
corner
over.
think people
was that?
say that.
Where that closet is.
Yeah,
I think
that's
people
where I got
say-
an uneasy feeling.
I think people say that like the when you get that feeling, it's the I don't know what they call it, but
It's
the spirit,
energy
the
telling
spirit,
it to leave it alone.
that and the spirit attaching itself to you, and then like
Like a manifest almost.
you're right,
Right.
trying to attach itself to you so that like. Because then, like, they say that when you go somewhere else that it will unattach itself from you and it'll stay there
Yeah.
and stuff. So, with the holy water that you had, I think it's what really irritated it. So,
Yeah.
but
I
if
wonder-
the feeling went away after you walked away, I think
Yeah,
it's just
after
getting
I got
irritated, so.
after I got back upstairs, I still had the unnerving feeling for a couple days. We kept hearing things. From time to time, the audio on the TV would just cut out out of nowhere. We're like watching it, it's
Like the
totally fine.
Goldbergs or something.
Yeah, next thing you know, boom, completely quiet. And then we have to like mess around with the TV, and it usually never happens. After we mess with it, it's still quiet. Go back later on, boom, it's finally back. Or when the air isn't on from time to time, the blinds will be moving.
And there's like no wind draft in there.
no.
Right.
Oh, you're brand new
No
windows,
negative air
right?
Yeah.
pressure, nothing.
Well, this doesn't make it a little unnerving sitting
Right.
in the same house. Yeah.
Well, this was all before I went around with the holy water.
Oh, okay.
Now, like, I don't feel anything, but like from time to time I'll get those like paranoid, like I hear like a creak because it's an old house, and it's like, what was that?
Yeah, no,
What was
you're
Time
almost
to
like,
grab my Glock.
You don't hear voices. You don't hear voices when you shower anymore.
No, because I usually blare music to block it out.
It probably was vibing with the music and was like, all right, okay.
Right, he's singing like Chris Cornell in the shower.
you can't attack him. The solo hasn't.
Right.
Start
The
playing.
last remaining light by Audio Slave.
Yeah.
Start playing "Say Hello to Heaven." Spirit starts singing along too.
And then he's like, come on.
He's like, that was a really uncalled for move there, buddy.
Yeah, you play "Show Me How to Live" to them, and they're like, all right, we get it.
It's like, that was not very Cash Money. You.
Yeah.
You throw on like Nickelback or Skillet and it kills you.
Then you become the ghost, and he's like, welcome to the party. And you're like, I call that side of the house.
It's like, I was in the shower. Come on, I just got this new soap. Really?
Yeah. Now we gotta drop
Forever
plates.
a naked ghost.
No wonder they wear sheets. Some of them probably died naked.
Oh, I thought they were just cheapskates.
Or just too ugly. They're like, oh god, I wasn't that good looking. Let's throw a sheet on.
Can I get another glass?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we want to save some stuff for the next time that you come on and
All right.
we'll have some new topics for you. You know.
All right.
And
Yeah.
if you have any ideas of what you want to kind of talk about, you're more than welcome to shoot us some ideas.
Oh yeah, for sure. In the future, we could talk about when it comes to music, like, we could literally go on.
Right.
for days.
Clearly, you guys can go on
Yes.
forever.
Like, as long as
But-
it's not like country music, I could talk like an ear off about
Then
it. There's
I am
some
out of
country
this.
music. There'll be like John Denver and like Johnny
Right.
Cash and stuff like that I like.
But I think that was a pretty good. We had about an hour. I think we're at probably about an hour and 10 minutes. So I think it was
Oh, yeah.
pretty good for us. Appreciate you coming on. I think all of us really enjoyed having
Yeah,
you.
it was great.
Oh, yeah,
Thank you for
man.
having me on here.
For
We'll
sure
definitely
gonna
be back
happen
on
again.
soon.
Yeah, in the future. You know, we'll hit you up and let you know when.
Oh, yeah.
But you guys have anything else to say? I mean, I think that was pretty good.
Yeah, I'd say so. Touched on just about everything we want to talk about. We got a little sidetracked, but it's all
It
right.
is what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, that happens.
I'm really
That's-
scatterbrained when I'm
But we
talking.
have but now we have more topics to talk about again when
Yeah.
he comes back on. Matt, what do you got? You got nothing?
What, to talk next time?
Can you give
No,
us a
we
little
could-
prayer before we go?
Anything that you took from this podcast, you know?
Anything that I took?
Where are my
It's
car
fun.
keys?
I think it was really good. I think it was a really fun episode
Yeah,
for
it's
us.
definitely fun.
Oh yeah.
It was a different experience and I really enjoyed. I think we all really enjoyed having another person
Another
on.
person.
Right.
We can have a whole
Picking their
different
brain
type
and
of
knowledge.
picking their brain and have a different type of conversation. But
And
Glad
some
to
more
contribute.
viewpoints other than the same old ones that we
Right.
shoot off of each other left and right.
Right.
But I think that's gonna call it for us. So thank you for coming back to watch the late podcast. Good having you, Paul.
Oh yeah.
See you guys later.
Catch you guys later.